Dad's got the lure all nice and sanded down, real good. We had some cracks and everything in it, so we filled it in with epoxy on top and bottom right here. We got the weight in it filled in. We got it all sanded back down real good, nice and smooth. One of the things we're going to do is we're going to put we like to use like an inch screw hook in it. We're going to use it in the back here so it gives a good bite and everything. So how we do that, we want to make a pilot hole, so we just use a regular little sewing needle inside of we use a cordless drill, so we'll put that in there. Get it all nice and tight. If I can get it. Make sure it's nice and tight. You want to try and find the center going this way and this way. Make it real nice and tight. So it's going to take and go kind of slow because you don't want to break your needle. Kind of go in. As long as you get it nice and straight, you'll be good. You don't want it off-centered or anything. Kind of go in a couple times, get all that loose sawdust out of there. Okay. Once we get that done, we put our eye screw in there. Kind of screw it in a little ways to where it gets a good bite on it. In there real well. Alright. We use a little miniature pair of vice grips. They help real well. You get it, hold of it, and just kind of screw it in real good. Because kind of has kind of a multiple purpose putting this eye in there. So when we get ready to paint it, this is what we'll be holding it by. So we won't have to touch the lure and get the paint and everything touched or anything. Kind of get it in there a little ways. As you can tell, it's pretty nice and straight. Going this way and this way gives you a good bite and everything. So that way you'll be able to get a good grip. Then we have our vice grips. So what I do is I take them, I clamp them on there like this. So that way when I paint it, I won't have to touch the lure or anything like that. You know, it gives you a good base to help it stand up and everything. So you can get all the way around it without having to really touch the lure and everything. It's real handy to have. So I'd suggest getting that or something like it, you know, it'll help you out real well. But now we got that done, we'll get ready to paint it. Alright, we've got the lure all nice and set up and everything, so we're ready to paint. We actually have two different airbrushes that we like to use. This one here is more of a one size type deal. I mean, you can adjust a little and everything. This is what we're going to be using to do our base coat and everything. This one here we'll be using later on. This here I can actually do finer detail and get like pencil line thin with it. It's got two different settings on it. I can actually set it to two different deals. Unscrew the back here. As I can tell, I've got two different settings I can make on it to where I can do a thicker line and a fine line for it. They're real good for doing smaller detail, which I'll be doing some later on for you. One of the things we like to use is we use the Folk Art craft paint. You can buy it at Walmart or anything like that. With the paint, it's really just a personal choice of what you like to use. But for us, we like to use the Folk Art. It's a real good paint. You know, you can get many different shades and everything. So this is what we'll be using. As far as our base coat goes, we're going to start out with this one here. It's a Tree Frog Green. It'll make a real good base coat and everything for it. Show through real good through all the other colors and everything. So it'll work out real good. You don't want to mix too much paint with anything. So we got a little cup here we'll be using to mix our paint in and be using it to spray with. It's a real good, you know, it just kind of goes on your little cup. It's kind of like that. And it'll hold your paint. You know, it doesn't give you too much and not too less. Works out really good. So once we get started and everything, we'll be able to tell you a little bit more about how we're going about doing it. One of the things you want to do though before you get started is you want to figure out what colors you want to use. As you can see here, I've got my colors and everything picked out. We getting ready to get started, and we'll get the details and everything, and I'll tell you a little bit more how I'm doing it. Alright, now that we're ready to paint, one of the things you want to do is you want to make sure your paint's real nice and shook up real good. So we'll get it shook up real good. Just make sure that it's all not separated and everything, you know, you got it real nice and good and mixed up. First thing you want to do is you get your cup. You know, you want to put just a couple drops of paint in it. With this paint, it's kind of thick, so you want to do a few drops in there. Now, with it being thick, you want to take some water. I got a glass of water right here to keep handy by. Take a few drops of water, put in there. I just kind of guess on it. Get a few in there. I always take a back end of a paintbrush. Helps real well. Just kind of stir it up with. Make sure it's real nice and stir it up real good. It usually takes about 30-45 seconds. Get mixed up in there. As you can tell, you got a real good consistency of how it's thin. It should spray real good through your thing with it thin down like that. Gotta take your paintbrush and rake it off. And I keep a towel real handy. Just gotta wipe the paintbrush off real good. And set this off to the side. And get your airbrush screwed on. Okay. Get plugged in here. Now I've got it all done, I can make sure I get all on there. I like to hold on to it because it don't fit too well, but you kind of hold on to it with the bottom finger like so. You got a scrap piece of paper. Kind of look on how you get it all adjusted out to where you like it. You get it all spraying real good. I can go back to my lure. I kind of start at the top. Get it all sprayed down. Works real good. Just kind of go back and forth. Make sure you get a good even coat on it. If you remember how I told you about the pliers, when I touch a lure or anything, just twist it around using the pliers. Make sure I get it all. Kind of keep an eye on your paint. When you get low, you'll have to mix some more up. As I can tell, I'm not spraying too well, so I know I'm running out of paint. So it's real fast. I just take my paint, throw a few more drops of in there. However much I think I need. You gotta make sure you get the water back in there. Once I get my water, I can make sure that I stir it up again real good. You want to do this kind of fast due to the fact that you don't want your airbrush drying up on it, because then it make it real hard to clean, because then it won't work or anything. It's really a difficult process. You throw it back in there. I'll get spraying again. Make sure I get it covered all the way around. Kind of twist it around. You want to get all the crevices. I like to go kind of soft, kind of like with the spray can. I just kind of go, as I go, wherever I kind of overspray a little, and I'll release the trigger for the air, so I don't get any runs or anything like that. It helps get you a more better lure looking, and it'll help you with runs and all that. So you want to make sure you get it real nice and coated real well. Sometimes you might have to go back and look at it, see how the paint's doing. sometimes you gotta get kind of close with it to get it all nice and touched up where you can't see the wood grain. You want a good even coat, so because this is the color it's going to be showing through on my lure, so I want to make sure it shows through real well by getting a good even coat all the way around. Once I get the good even coat to where I like it, I kind of go back, look at it, see where I missed spot, and get it, go over it again. Might take a little more paint because the paint likes to soak in the wood sometimes, with it being dried wood. You can kind of go back, play with it a little, get it all nice and coated real well. Once I get where I like it, I'll be able to start getting my other things going to where I can get it and make sure I have everything coated where I can still see it once I get my other spot. As you can tell, I got a light spot there, so I want to make sure I get over that, cover it real well. So I'll just go back, fan around it, get it coated real well. I'll take it up and look at it again. I think that looks pretty good. I just got this little spot down here, so hit it real good. Kind of twist it around so you can get the side of it. And double look, because like the wood, like I said, the wood soaks in the paint sometimes. So you kind of go back over it, make sure it's covered real nice and well. It's all evenly covered. I'll slide up here. Once we get to where we like it, we can wash out the airbrush and let this coat dry. Once we get done, take the paint cup out. What I like to do is I take I got a cup of water right here. I'll take it and hook it in here. I'll kind of spray clean water through it so I don't see the paint anymore on it. Once I get that, I can make sure there ain't no paint in it. Makes a real easy clean job on it, and it won't be have dry paint in there. I can tell it's starting to thin out real well. I also kind of keep a towel on my lap if I need it. I can pull it up for another space. You know, it kind of helps with the paint. As you tell, it's spraying real clear, starting to spot now. It usually takes a couple minutes to get it done, but yeah, as you tell, I'm just spraying a lot of water now. Yeah, once I get that, you know, it kind of helps. You know, you spray water in the air. You know. It kind of helps with the air around it, you know, kind of puts more water in the air, kind of like a humidifier. Kind of spray it up in the air a little bit, you know, just run clean water, make sure there's nothing else in it, you know, keeps it real nice and moist and everything. It's a good clean job. Once I get that done though, I just kind of stop, set it off the side. I usually set it in a cup of water, you know, just any excess paint that might be in there, you know, keep it nice and wet. Kind of put it in there and unplug your compressor, you know. Once you get your base coat done, you just kind of let that dry and we'll be ready for the next step. Alright, we got the lure dry and everything now. We want to put scales on it. How we do that is we use a netting. This particular roll here we got from my sister's wedding. She was going to use it on a dress, never did, but you can usually get this at Walmart or a craft store or anything like that. But for this particular lure, this one here, as you can see, it's got pretty small little holes in it, which would make a small scale. and everything. It's but we want bigger scales. So we got this little piece here. It's got bigger scales and everything on it. It's got bigger holes, so make a bigger scale. It's a as you can tell, it's got some pretty good size scales. You'll be able to see them real well. This particular piece is off of a scrubby, like a bathroom scrubby. If you're going to get a piece like that, you might want to ask your mom or wife or something first. You don't want to get in trouble. They might get a little mad about it. So, you might want to ask them first. But what you want to do is you want to take it. Now my lure's dry, I can handle it. I'll take it off of the vice grips. You want to just kind of lay it on there. I like to lay this netting down, lay the lure upside down, like so. We've got these little clips. These here are just miniature clothespins. You can buy them at Walmart or a craft store. Or you got these little alligator clips. They both work really well. You can get these at a hardware store or even Walmart, an electrical department. But they work real good to hold the netting on there so you won't move it or anything. So what you want to do is you want to pull your netting real nice and tight over it. Get it wrapped around. Take one of your clips, kind of put on it so it holds it real well. You just want to kind of do this all the way around. I usually take my ends, kind of roll it around, so that way I got a good bite, real nice and close to the lure. Might take you a little bit, but in the end it's really worth the time and effort, because it really makes your lure stand out, makes it look more like a fish or whatever you're trying to make. Once you get it all pulled down tight on the bottom to where it's tight on the top and on the side, like so. Alright, as you can tell, the lure, they're really close together. They don't look like scales just yet. So what I want to do is I'll take the back of it or the front, it don't really matter, and I'll pull it real tight, kind of work it back a little. So the scales have more of a backwards look to them. Just kind of work it back a little. And with that eye hook where you had it at, you know, like you're going to be holding on to it with your pliers. So I'll take my little vice grips here, and on the back of it, I'll use it to hold my netting back, so it'll hold it real tight. And on the front here, how you got all the loose stuff, you want to actually kind of pull it down, and I'll actually clip it on the front. Just kind of wrap it around a few times. I'll take another clip and I'll put it on the bottom here, so that way it has a real nice, good looking effect going all the way back. You know, it'll look like an actual scale theme once you get it all painted and everything. So now that we got that done, we can get ready and get started and paint the others.